Hello and welcome to another episode here on Captain's Dry Dock. And in the dry dock today, I'm making a new dry dock. Or to be precise, I'm designing to have a brand new state-of-the-art workshop made. Let's make it real. Now, if you follow my channel, you'll know that I specialise in making cool stuff from film and TV, such as this Stormtrooper outfit, these blasters, and Star Trek props, and I even take commissions, such as these tap handles I made for my local microbrewery. Basically, I love making cool stuff, and most of it all happens from this tiny little IKEA desk, from 3D modelling, electronics, and to construction. And I'm not going to lie, it's a real pain in the ass setting everything up and putting it all away whenever I use something. And I know most of you can sympathise, especially when you have kids around and all they want to do is to eat your resistors and glue themselves to your models and play with whatever you're making as if it was a toy. And also, having your tools and materials spread across the house adds so much time doing the most simplest tasks. That was until I moved house last year and I had a shed in the garden with power sockets, and this gave me a taste of how amazing it would be to have everything in one place dedicated to just making cool stuff. This also allowed me to get bigger tools, such as this huge 40-watt laser cutter that I bought secondhand from a mate. However, after just one winter working from it, I soon discovered that it was bloody freezing to the point that the water that cools the laser cutter would freeze over, and I couldn't cut anything, and the 3D printers just failed to print properly because it was just too cold. But what did I expect? After all, it was just a garden shed. So I had a choice. Spend money upgrading the shed with insulation and repairs. Show me the money! Yep, I know, basically polishing a turd. Or demolish it and spend lots of money to get a brand new purpose-built workshop made. Well, after much thought and a well-timed redundancy,
you're fired.
I opted for the latter. And after listening to my lovely wife, my dad, and of course, Jim Carrey,
was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
I decided to take a chance and invest in myself and my dream. Now, as this channel is all about making, this is one massive making project that deserves its own playlist. So the following videos after this will document every detail of how it's going and having this workshop being made, and hopefully helps you consider having one made for yourself. If not, you can just learn and laugh at my mistakes and probably see me injure myself now and again. That's likely to happen. Okay, full disclosure, at the time of filming this video, the structure is 80% complete. And so if I talk in a mixture of past and present tense, well, that's why. Okay, first, research. And oh boy, there is such a thing as way too much information. So, should I make it myself or get it professionally done? Prefab or bespoke? What size, color, material? The list is absolutely endless. First off, I knew that I didn't want to make all of it completely myself. Yes, I know I'm a maker, but something like this benefits from experience, especially if this is going to be a one-off, because everything I would have learned by building it myself would just be too late, and I'll be forever saying to myself, I could have done this better, or I missed something, and you know that's going to happen. So I started getting quotes to have it made from scratch by typing into Google for companies that made external structures such as summer houses, and there were literally hundreds to choose from in my local area. And also, I just didn't know how many to investigate. So I eventually turned to the local town's Facebook group and asked for recommendations. And again, I was bombarded by too many options, and not one company was recommended more than once. So I eventually contacted 4 from the list that had a website or at least online pictures of their previous builds, and each of them offered to come by the garden to give me a quote by checking out the site. And oh man, was I in for a shock. Anywhere between 20 to 30,000 English pounds. Damn! Although I did actually have one come back to me for a quote of £10,000, but I felt that if something's way lower than the market rate, then it's just not worth the risk. So why so expensive? And that's exactly the question I asked the builders. And it turns out in the UK where I'm based, the material is now equally as expensive as the labour, which in the past wasn't the case. And I was told by a few of those builders it's because most of the material that we get in the UK come from the continent. And because we've got huge import taxes now, yet it's driven up the cost of building anything. As you can imagine, I quickly looked at much cheaper options of prefabs, basically glorified sheds, kits that you put together yourself. Now, I was really tempted with that option, as they cost anywhere between £2,000 and upwards depending on size and additional options. Also, the advertised pictures make them look amazing. But on close inspection, the lower end ones are just glorified sheds, and the higher end ones are just made from cheap PVC, had minimal insulation, and would need way more spending to bring them up to standard that I wanted. It was at this point I was so dejected and depressed that I thought this whole enterprise was going to be a non-starter. That was until I spoke to a couple of builder friends that offered their services and suggested a new type of build that combined both options. There's a company in the UK that produces off-the-shelf summer house kits or ones made to measure, and that was better than a prefab because they looked amazing, as the walls were made from 2 OSB boards sandwiching 3 inches of super thick insulation under compression, making it solid and ready to erect.
Oh, giggity, 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 ooh, ee, ooh, ting, tang, walla, walla, bing, bang, ooh, ee, ooh, ting, tang, walla, walla, bing, bang.
This meant no frames and having to install insulation afterwards. It was light, strong and slotted together so quickly that the main structure could be built in one day, thereby saving labour costs. And that was the key. Although the composite material cost slightly more than raw timber, it drastically reduced labour time. Now I had to come up with a design, and I wanted the new structure to span the width of the garden which backs off to the private road behind the house, and importantly could also fit my motorbike. Again, using Google for inspiration, I came up with a contemporary design that incorporated my most important features. I wanted lots of natural light, so 2 windows and a glazed door, and probably a skylight. I wanted to store and display my lovely Triumph Trident at one end, so I needed the door to be wide enough, and also the workshop depth needed to be big enough so I could drive the thing in. I wanted a flat tilted roof so it didn't look old fashioned like a shed, and because of our winters, thick insulation and double glazing. I wanted multiple power sockets and lighting, and last but not least, Wi-Fi. So the estimate I got from the builders was £16,500. This included everything you see here. Now, to have it supplied with electricity, lighting and power sockets, I would need a separate quote from an electrician. For this, I like to get the recommendations of the builders because a good working relationship with all the people working on the site just ends up with a really good result and less delays. So after a chat, the nicest electrician I've ever spoken to, I gave him a full detailed brief of what I wanted, which was 9 double sockets, so I don't need to unplug and plug tools all the time. Air vent, so I don't die from all the chemicals and fumes from the laser cutter and the 3D printers. 8 external spotlights to, of course, make it look awesome. 2 external security lights. This is for the back that leads to the private road. 2 ring security cameras. I have the walk tools and a nice bike. Needless to say, I want to keep it all safe. And extending the internet cable from the house to establish a Wi-Fi hub into the workshop, purely for watching YouTube, honestly.
It's the internet.
The quote, £1,455 English pounds. Now, to help reduce the cost, I already had armoured electrical cable leading from the house to the original shed structure on the same site, although it wouldn't save a huge amount, but every little helps. Well, that's it for this episode. I really hope it's whetted your appetite to see how this build would come together.
Because I'm as hard as a diamond in an ice storm right now.
As for me, this is a dream come true that I'm really happy to share with the internet. And so I look forward to sharing all the other videos which are going to come after this. In the next episode, me and the builders prepare the site and find something really interesting that would mean a whole load of work and expense that was completely unplanned for. So that's something you want to watch. In the meantime, my name's John Child. This IKEA desk is my current workshop, and I'll see you on the next episode. You take care.